Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The Memphis sun sank low, painting the Mississippi River in shades of fire and gold. Downtown buzzed with the soul of Beale Street, where blues notes drifted from open bars. But inside St. Augustine Chapel, a different kind of music held sway. A violin's mournful wail echoed through the Gothic hall, its vaulted ceilings dripping with white roses and crystal chandeliers that glittered like stars. The air was thick with the scent of flowers and wealth, the crowd a mix of Memphis elites, music moguls, and tabloid reporters, all eyes fixed on the altar. Eric Blackwell, 32, stood tall in a black tuxedo, his dark brown hair neat, his green eyes cold as glass. CEO of Blackwell Enterprises, he was Memphis royalty, his empire spanning tech and real estate. Beside him, Serena Chase. His bride glowed in a wedding gown that cost more than most people's homes, its lace catching the chandelier light. Her smile was radiant, but Eric's face was a mask, his hand in hers, more duty than desire. The priest. Father Amos cleared his throat, ready to begin the vows, when the heavy oak doors at the back of the chapel slammed open. A woman stormed in her presence like a thunderclap. Harper Lane 30 moved with fierce purpose, her brown skin gleaming under the lights, her curly hair wild, a single white daisy tucked into its coils. Her thin coat, damp from the sudden rain outside, clashed with the chapel's opulence. But her eyes, deep brown, red-rimmed, burning with desperation, commanded the room. Her heels clicked sharp against the marble aisle, each step shattering the silence. Eric. Her voice cut through the violin's hum, hoarse but unyielding, a cry that stopped hearts. My daughter's in the ER. She's dying, and you're the only one who can save her. The crowd gasped, a wave of murmurs rippling through the pews. Camera flashes popped, reporters scrambling for shots. Serena's grip on Eric's arm tightened, her face draining from radiant to ghostly pale. Eric froze his eyes, locking on the woman who'd just torn his world apart. Harper Lane, his ex, the love he'd buried 6 years ago, the woman he'd once adored and then despised. Harper. Eric's voice was a mix of shock and fury, his Memphis drawl rough. What the hell you talking about? Harper ignored the stunned stares, the whispers, Serena's trembling rage. She marched straight to the altar, her fists clenched as if holding on to the last threads of her strength. Emma, she said, her voice breaking tears, carving tracks down her cheeks. She's in acute kidney failure. Blood type, AB negative. You're the only match. Eric, I'm begging you. Eric's mind spun, the chapel's glow fading to a blur. Emma. A daughter. He'd never heard Harper mention a child 6 years ago. She'd vanished from his life after Serena showed him photos and texts. Proof Harper had cheated, or so he'd believed. He'd loved her with every fiber. Planned a life with her in Nashville, only to have his heart ripped out. Now here she was on his wedding day, claiming a child needed him. Was this a trick? A lie? But the raw pain in Harper's eyes, the way her voice cracked, made his gut twist. Serena clung to Eric, her nails digging into his arm, her voice sharp with panic. She's crazy, Eric. Don't listen to her. This is our day. Her eyes darted to Harper, venomous. You're just jealous, trying to ruin everything. But Harper didn't flinch. Her gaze locked on Eric, pleading. She dropped to her knees, her coat pooling on the marble, tears streaming. I don't care what you think of me, she said, her voice a raw whisper. Hate me, curse me, whatever. But Emma has hours left. If you don't help, she'll die. The word die hit Eric like a blade piercing the armor he'd built. He looked into Harper's eyes he'd once lost himself in now, drowning in despair. Something in her gaze, a truth he couldn't ignore, cracked his resolve. The crowd's whispers grew louder, cameras flashing. But Eric's world narrowed to Harper, to the daughter she claimed needed him. "Eric, don't!" Serena screamed, pulling at him, her voice shrill. "She's lying. She's always been a liar." Eric shook off her hand, his jaw tight. He turned to Father Amos, his voice firm, cutting through the chaos. "Cancel the wedding." Then to Harper, his eyes unreadable. "Let's go." The chapel erupted, reporters shouting, guests gasping, camera flashes strobing like lightning. Serena stood frozen, her gown a mockery of her shattered dreams, her face contorted in rage. "Eric, you can't do this to me!" she shrieked, her voice echoing as he strode past her, following Harper, who was already running, her coat flapping like a broken wing. Outside, the Memphis rain poured cold droplets, soaking Harper's coat. Her curls plastered to her neck. Eric grabbed her arm, stopping her on the wet cobblestones of Beale Street, the neon lights blurring in the downpour. "You owe me answers." "Harper," he said, his voice rough, rain dripping from his hair. "This child who's her father." Harper bit her lip, hurt, flashing in her eyes, but she didn't answer. "St. Mary's Hospital," she said, her voice trembling. "Please hurry." She pulled free, running toward a waiting cab, and Eric followed his tuxedo, drenched his heart a storm of anger, doubt, and something he couldn't name. Eric's Rolls-Royce roared through Memphis's slick streets, the Mississippi River, a dark ribbon to their left. Inside, the air was thick with tension, the hum of the engine drowned by the rain's relentless drum. Harper clutched her phone, texting the doctor, her hands shaking, her brown skin pale under the dashboard's glow. Eric glanced at her, his mind racing. Why now? Why a child? Could Emma be his? The thought was a spark igniting memories of Harper, her laugh in Nashville's Centennial Park, her dreams of designing homes the way she'd made him believe in forever. They reached St. Mary's Hospital in the medical district, its stark white halls, a contrast to the chapel's opulence. Harper bolted into the ER, Eric close behind his wet shoes squeaking on the linoleum. In a sterile room, Emma lay on a bed, a tiny figure hooked to machines, her chestnut curls damp, her blue eyes, Eric's eyes half open, glassy with pain. She was 5. Fragile, her pale lips barely moving. Dr. Jamal Carter, a friend of Harper's, approached, his face grim. "Miss Lane, we've stabilized her, but her kidneys are failing. AB negative. Blood is rare. If we don't find a donor in hours, she won't make it." Eric's breath caught his eyes fixed on Emma, her delicate face, the curve of her nose, those eyes, they were his. Unmistakably. A strange ache bloomed in his chest, a pull he couldn't explain. He turned to Harper, his voice raw. "She's my daughter, isn't she?" Harper lowered her head, tears dripping onto the floor, her curls hiding her face. "Please, Eric," she whispered. "Save her first. I'll tell you everything when she's safe." Eric nodded, his jaw tight, and followed Jamal to a lab as a nurse drew his blood. The needle's sting was nothing compared to the storm inside, anger at Harper's silence, guilt for believing Serena's lies, and a flicker of hope that this girl, this piece of him, could live. He glanced at Harper through the glass, her hands clutching Emma's, her brown skin stark against the hospital's white. She was still the woman who'd owned his heart. But now she was a stranger with secrets. Back in the ER, Eric sat by Emma's bed, the blood bag dripping life into her veins. Harper stood opposite her eyes, never leaving her daughter, her lips moving in silent prayer. The monitors beeped a steady rhythm, and slowly, color crept into Emma's cheeks. Jamal checked her vitals, nodding. "She's responding. If this holds, she'll pull through." Harper broke, tears spilling as she hugged Emma, her voice choked. Thank you, Eric. I don't know how to repay you. Eric looked at her, his green eyes hard but wavering. You don't owe me anything yet, he said, his voice low. But you owe me the truth. Harper. About her. About us. She nodded, wiping her tears, her curls falling over her shoulder. When she's safe, she promised, her voice barely a breath. Eric stood, his tuxedo still damp, his heart heavy. He stepped into the hall, the hospital's sterile smell mixing with the rain's memory. Emma's face haunted him. His face, his blood. He needed answers, but more than that, he needed to know if the woman he'd loved, the woman he'd lost, was still the Harper he'd known. Outside, the Memphis rain slowed Beale Street's neon lights flickering back to life. But across town, in a penthouse overlooking the river, Serena. Chase stared at her phone, her red nails tapping. Vanessa Cole's text glowed. Harper's playing dirty. What's the plan? Serena's lips curled, her eyes cold. She won't win, she muttered, typing a reply. The game was far from over, and Serena was ready to burn it all down. The Memphis dawn broke soft over Midtown, painting Overton Square in hues of pink and gold. The air carried the faint hum of blues from Beale Street, a reminder of the city's soul. But inside Harper Lane's small apartment, the world felt heavier. A week had passed since she'd stormed Eric Blackwell's wedding, her desperate plea for her daughter Emma's life, shattering his world and hers. Emma 5 was stable now at St. Mary's Hospital, her chestnut curls brighter, her blue eyes, Eric's eyes, sparkling again. But for Harper, 30, the fight was far from over. Harper stood at her kitchen counter, her brown skin catching the morning light through a cracked window, her curly hair pulled into a loose bun, a white daisy tucked in like a quiet rebellion. She wore a mustard-yellow blouse and jeans, the fabric soft against her skin, but her deep brown eyes were shadowed, tracing a stack of medical bills. The apartment, cozy with Emma's crayon drawings pinned to the walls, was her sanctuary, a testament to 6 years of single motherhood. Yet Eric's question, "She's my daughter, isn't she?" echoed like a blues riff. She couldn't shake. The door creaked open, and Aisha Turner Harper's older sister breezed in, her locks adorned with gold beads, her paint-splattered overalls a badge of her artist life. She carried a tray of iced coffees from a local spot, her eyes narrowing at Harper's tired face. "Yo, sis, you look like you ain't slept in a minute," Aisha said, setting the tray down. "And don't gimme that 'I'm fine' vibe. Spill it. What's got you twisted?" Harper took a coffee, the cold plastic grounding her, but her voice was soft, barely steady. "It's Eric, Aisha. He's asking about Emma, pushing for answers. I told him I'd talk when she's safe, but I'm scared he won't believe me. Not after last time." Aisha leaned against the counter, her gaze sharp. "Last time he called you a liar and kicked you out. Harper dude's a billionaire with a penthouse ego. You don't owe him nothing. You and Emma been holding it down without him. Why let him back in now?" Harper's fingers tightened around the cup, her eyes distant. "Because Emma needs him. And maybe I need to know if he's still the man I loved. 6 years ago in Nashville. Love had felt like a song. Harper, a design student at Vanderbilt, sat with Eric Blackwell on a wooden bench by Centennial Park's lake, the Parthenon's columns glowing under a golden sunset. Her curls bounced as she laughed, her brown skin warm against his arm, her voice bright as she sketched ideas for a community art center. Eric, a business major with big dreams, listened, his green eyes soft, his hand tracing circles on hers. "What about a house in the burbs?" He'd said, his Memphis drawl teasing. "Big garden kids running wild. You in?" She'd grinned, nudging him. "Kids, slow down, Mr. Blackwell. You skipping the ring part." He'd pulled her close, kissing her forehead, the scent of her jasmine perfume, mixing with the park's cut grass. Rings comin'. Harper Lane. Just say yes when I drop to one knee. They'd laughed, the world shrinking to their shared heartbeat, unaware of Serena Chase watching from the shadows, her jealousy, a spark ready to ignite, back in the present. Harper shook off the memory, her coffee now lukewarm. Aisha's voice cut through. You're too good for him, sis. Remember that gala in Nashville? Those rich folks side-eyeing you like you didn't belong. Eric didn't stand up for you then. What's changed? Harper's jaw tightened. Aisha wasn't wrong. At a Vanderbilt fundraiser, she'd felt the sting of whispers. Who's the black girl with Eric, and Eric, distracted by his ambitions, hadn't noticed her discomfort. But the Eric at the hospital, the one who'd saved Emma without hesitation, felt different. Or was she just hoping? The hospital became their uneasy meeting ground. Harper spent every day at Emma's bedside reading Maya Angelou's Still I Rise to her. The words, a shield against fear. Eric visited too, his tailored suits out of place among the sterile white walls. But his eyes softened when he saw Emma. One afternoon, as Emma napped, her tiny hand clutching a teddy bear, he'd brought Eric cornered Harper in the hall. His voice low, urgent. Harper, we need to talk, he said, his green eyes piercing his cologne. Sandalwood sharp, filling the space. Emma's got my eyes, my blood. You can't keep dodging me. Is she my daughter? Harper's heart raced, her brown skin prickling under his gaze. She stepped back, her curls brushing her shoulders, her voice steady but strained. I said I'd talk when she's safe. Eric, she's still weak. Let me focus on her. He moved closer, his hand brushing her arm, his fingers grazing her skin, warm and deliberate. The touch sent a jolt through her memories of Nashville, flooding back, his hands on her waist, his lips on hers. You're not making this easy, he said, his voice a low growl like the Mississippi's current. I saved her, Harper. I deserve the truth. Her breath hitched, the hospital's neon lights casting shadows on her face, her jasmine scent mingling with the antiseptic air. She wanted to tell him about Emma, about the pregnancy test, about the night he'd thrown those fake photos in her face, but fear stopped her. You didn't trust me before, she said, pulling her arm away, her eyes glistening. Why should I trust you now? Eric's jaw tightened, but he nodded, stepping back. I'm not going anywhere, he said, his voice softer, but I'm getting answers. Harper, one way or another. The moment lingered, their nearness, a spark in the sterile hall, but Harper turned away, her heart pounding, the weight of 6 years pressing down. She didn't see Eric's eyes follow her, a mix of anger, longing, and something new doubt about the past. That evening at Sea Whisper Harper's design studio in Midtown, she sorted sketches for a community workshop, her fingers trembling. The space was small, with exposed brick walls covered in Emma's drawings and mood boards of vibrant African prints. Aisha dropped by her paint-stained hands, holding a phone, her face grim. Check this. Sis, she said, showing an Instagram post from Serena Chase. The post was a photo of Harper at the chapel, her coat soaked, captioned, Some people will do anything for attention. Had gold digger, had Blackwell wedding, gold digger. Vanessa Cole, Serena's influencer friend, had reposted it, adding, Memphis doesn't need this drama. Stay in your lane. The comments were vicious. She's after his money. Typical. Each one a knife to Harper's pride. Harper's hands shook, her brown eyes blazing. They don't know me, she said, her voice low, her curls bouncing as she paced. I'm not some stereotype. I'm fighting for my kid. Aisha hugged her fierce and warm. You're a queen, Harper. Don't let these haters dim your shine. But you gotta decide, stay and fight or take Emma and bounce. Harper didn't answer, her fingers tracing a sketch of a daisy. Emma's favorite flower. Leaving meant safety, but staying meant facing Eric, the man who'd saved her daughter but broken her heart. She didn't know which scared her more. Across town in his glass-walled office overlooking the Mississippi, Eric Blackwell sat his tuxedo swapped for a crisp navy suit. The city's lights glittered below, but his mind was on Harper. Her plea, her tears, Emma's eyes. Serena Chase swept in her red dress, hugging her curves. Her smile forced Eric. "We need to talk," she said, her voice trembling, one hand resting on her stomach. "I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. It's yours." Eric froze, the room tilting. "What?" His voice was ice, his green eyes narrowing. "We were careful. Serena, how's this possible?" She bowed her head, faking tears. I was shocked too, but the doctor confirmed it. "We can start over. Eric, for our baby." His head spun. He didn't love Serena, not like he'd loved Harper, but a child changed things. Still something in her voice. The way her eyes darted felt off. "I want the test results," he said, his tone hard. "And I'm meeting your doctor." Serena flinched, but nodded, her smile tight. "Of course, Eric. You'll see I'm telling the truth." Eric leaned back, his fingers drumming the desk, doubt creeping in. He thought of the photos Serena had shown him 6 years ago, Harper with another man, texts that gutted him. He'd believed her then, too heartbroken to question. But Emma's face, Harper's pain made him wonder, had Serena played him? He picked up his phone, texting Marcus Reed, his lawyer and best friend, dig into Serena. Something's not right. At St. Mary's, Harper sat by Emma's bed, reading, "I know why the caged bird sings," her voice steady, her hand holding Emma's. The girl's breathing was stronger, her cheeks pinker, but Harper's heart was a battlefield. Eric's touch in the hall, his demand for truth stirred memories. She'd buried his laugh, his warmth, the way he'd made her feel seen. But he'd called her a liar once, and the wound still bled. Emma stirred, her blue eyes fluttering open. "Mommy," she whispered, "is the man with the teddy bear coming back?" Harper smiled, brushing a curl from Emma's face. "Maybe, sweetheart. He's helping us." As Emma drifted back to sleep, Harper's phone buzzed with a new post from Vanessa Harper Lanes playing Eric Blackwell, "For a Fool," Memphis drama. Her stomach twisted, the words echoing Aisha's warning. "Leave before he breaks you again." But leaving meant tearing Emma from the father she was starting to love. And Harper wasn't sure she could do that. Outside, the Mississippi flowed its current steady, unyielding. In Serena's penthouse, she scrolled through Vanessa's comments, her nails tapping her smile. Cold. "Harper's going down," she muttered, typing a new plan. The truth was closing in, but Serena wasn't ready to lose, not yet. Midtown. Memphis pulsed with life, the morning sun spilling over Overton Square, where street musicians strummed blues riffs and coffee shops buzzed with locals. Harper Lane's apartment, a small haven of exposed brick, and Emma's crayon art, felt like a fortress against the chaos of the past week. At 30, Harper stood at her kitchen window, her brown skin glowing under the light, her curly hair loose, a white daisy tucked into its coils like a quiet defiance. She wore a teal blouse and jeans, but her deep brown eyes were heavy, haunted by Eric Blackwell's question. "Is she my daughter?" and Serena Chase's venomous Instagram posts. Emma 5 was improving at St. Mary's Hospital, her chestnut curls bouncing again, her blue eyes, Eric's eyes bright with hope. But Harper's heart was a battlefield, torn between the pull of Eric's presence and the fear he'd break her again. Serena's claim of pregnancy splashed across social media by her influencer friend, Vanessa. Cole had shaken Harper, planting seeds of doubt. Was Eric still hers to trust? Or was he Serena's now bound by a child that wasn't hers? The door swung open, and Aisha Turner Harper's sister strode in, her locks tied back her paint-splattered hoodie, a testament to her artist hustle. She held a bag of beignets from a Treme bakery, the sweet, powdery scent filling the room. "Yo, sis, you gotta eat," Aisha said, dropping the bag on the counter, her eyes narrowing at Harper's tense frame. "And don't play me with that. I'm good vibe. Serena's out here wild and on IG, and you're looking like you're carrying the world." Harper forced a smile, grabbing a beignet, the sugar dusting her fingers. "I'm trying, Aisha. But Eric's pushing for answers about Emma, and Serena's acting like I'm some gold-digging stereotype. I don't know how much more I can take." Aisha leaned against the counter, her gaze fierce. "You're Harper Lane, Queen of Memphis. You built. Sea Whisper raised Emma Solo and crashed that man's wedding to save her. Serena's just noise. But Eric, you gotta decide if he's worth your heart again. 'Cause last time he left you in the dust." Harper's chest tightened, memories of Nashville flooding back. 6 years ago, she and Eric had sat at Bluebird Cafe, the dim lights casting shadows on her brown skin as she laughed, her curls bouncing. He'd leaned across the table, his green eyes soft, his hand brushing hers, promising a ring, a home, a life. But Serena had been there too, her smile too bright, her eyes too sharp, planting lies that tore them apart. Harper had tried to explain. Those photos aren't real, Eric, but his fury, his cold. "We're done," had silenced her, leaving her pregnant and alone. She shook off the memory, her fingers crumbling the beignet. "I don't know if I can trust him, Aisha. But Emma, she lights up when he's around. I can't take that from her." Aisha sighed, squeezing her shoulder. "Then fight for her. But don't lose yourself, sis. You're more than Eric Blackwell's ex." At St. Mary's Hospital, Harper spent her days with Emma reading Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou, her voice a steady anchor. Emma giggled, her blue eyes wide, asking for the poem with the strong lady again. Eric visited too, his navy suits a stark contrast to the hospital's white, but his presence softened with Emma. He brought puzzles, told silly stories, and once when Emma dozed off, he caught Harper's eye, his voice low. "She's got your fire, Harper, but those eyes, they're mine, aren't they?" Harper's heart skipped her curls, brushing her shoulders as she turned away, her voice tight. "Eric, I told you when she's safe. We'll talk. Don't push me." He stepped closer, his sandalwood cologne sharp in the sterile air, his hand hovering near hers. "I'm not pushing, Harper, but I'm not blind. I need to know." She met his gaze, her brown eyes fierce but trembling. "You didn't believe me 6 years ago. Why should I think you will now?" The question hung unanswered as a nurse interrupted, but the air crackled with their unspoken past. Harper's resolve wavered, the memory of Eric's touch, his hand on hers in Nashville, warm and sure, stirring a longing she hated. That evening trouble found her. Harper was locking up Sea Whisper, her design studio filled with sketches and African print fabrics, when Serena Chase appeared, her red heels clicking on the sidewalk, her blonde hair sleek, her smile icy. "Harper," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "We need to talk." Harper's jaw tightened, her curls bouncing as she faced her Serena. "I got nothing to say to you. Leave me alone." Serena stepped closer, her eyes flashing. "Oh, I think you do. Eric's mine. Harper, always has been, that kid of yours. She's not changing that pack up and bounce, or I'll make sure Memphis knows exactly who you are, a nobody trying to trap a billionaire." Harper's blood boiled, her brown skin prickling. She straightened her voice low, fierce. "You don't scare me, Serena. I'm a black woman who's fought for everything. I got Emma's my world, and if Eric chooses us, it's 'cause he sees me, not your lies." Serena's smirk faltered, but she leaned in, her voice a hiss. "You think you're special? I've got his baby, Harper. You're just a ghost from his past." Harper's heart stuttered, but she held her ground, her curls framing her face like a crown. "If you think Eric's a prize to be won, you've already lost." "Get out of my face!" Serena stormed off her heels, echoing, but her words lingered a poison. Harper couldn't shake. She drove to the hospital, her hands gripping the wheel. Serena's claim, "I've got his baby," clawing at her. Was it true? Could Eric be building a life with Serena while chasing answers about Emma? At St. Mary's, Harper found Eric by Emma's bed, the girl showing him how to braid her doll's hair, her giggles filling the room. "Uncle Eric." "You're messing it up," Emma said, her blue eyes sparkling. Eric laughed, a warm, unguarded sound that hit Harper like a memory. He looked up, his green eyes softening, but Harper's gaze was guarded. Serena's words, a wall between them. Later in the hospital cafeteria, Harper sat with Dr. Jamal Carter, her friend and Emma's doctor, his calm presence a balm. "You're carrying too much." "Harper," he said, sipping coffee, his eyes kind. "Eric's stepping up for Emma. But what about you? You gotta let someone in." Harper traced the rim of her cup, her voice low. "I let him in once, Jamal. He broke me. Now Serena's saying she's pregnant, and I don't know what to believe." Jamal leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then find out. You're stronger than you think. Don't let fear call the shots." Her phone buzzed, a new post from Vanessa Cole. "Harper Lane's drama is tanking Blackwell Enterprises' named gold digger." Harper's stomach twisted, the comments, "She's using that kid. Stay out of Memphis," cutting deep. She stood, her curls bouncing, her resolve hardening. She wasn't running, not yet across town. Eric Blackwell's office in downtown Memphis overlooked the Mississippi, its glass walls reflecting the city's lights. He stared at a photo of Emma snapped during a hospital visit, her smile a mirror of his own. Serena's pregnancy claim gnawed at him, but so did Harper's pain, her refusal to answer. He needed the truth about Emma, about the past. Marcus Reed, his lawyer and best friend, burst in, his tie loose, his grin wide. "Yo, Eric, I got something. Been digging into Serena like you asked. Found a private eye. She hired years back to track Harper where she lived. Her pregnancy, the kid. Serena knew about Emma from jump." Eric's blood ran cold, his fists clenching. "She knew." His voice was a growl, the pieces clicking. "What else is she hiding?" Marcus nodded, pulling out a file. "I'm working on it, but Serena's got a history of playing dirty. Those photos from 6 years ago, I'm betting they're fake. Let me keep digging." Eric stood pacing, his green eyes blazing. "Do it. And fast." He thought of the texts, the images of Harper with another man, how they'd gutted him in Nashville. He'd believed Serena trusted her tears, but Emma's face, Harper's desperation, told a different story. Had he been wrong all along? That night, Eric stopped by Harper's apartment unannounced, his navy jacket dusted with Memphis dust. Emma was at the hospital with Aisha, and Harper was washing dishes. Her teal blouse rolled up, her curls loose. The air smelled of cornbread and jasmine, her perfume a quiet pull. Eric grabbed a dish towel, startling her, his presence filling the small space. "You don't gotta do that," she said, avoiding his gaze, her hands in soapy water. "I want to," he said, his voice low, drying a plate. "You've been carrying too much. Harper, let me help just a little." They worked in silence, the clink of dishes and running water, a fragile bridge. Harper's heart raced, Eric's nearness, stirring memories. his hands on hers, his breath warm, the scent of his sandalwood cologne mixed with her jasmine intoxicating grounding. Their hands brushed his fingers, lingering, tracing her wrist. The touch, slow, deliberate, sending a shiver through her. Harper. He murmured his voice, a low hum like a blues note. You still make my heart race. Her breath caught the kitchen's dim light, catching her brown skin, her curls framing her face. She leaned closer, drawn to the heat in his green eyes, the promise of a past they'd lost. Their faces were inches apart. Her pulse loud in her ears, his cologne wrapping around her like a memory. But fear surged. Serena's lies, his betrayal, and she pulled back, her voice shaky. I can't, Eric. Not yet. He nodded, his eyes soft. No trace of anger. I'll wait, he said, setting the towel down. But I'm not giving up. The next day, Eric met Serena's doctor, Jamal's contact at a clinic in downtown. Serena clung to his arm, her red dress a stark contrast to her pale face. The doctor, Dr. Carter, hesitated, then spoke, his voice tight. Mr. Blackwell, there's no pregnancy. Ms. Chase isn't expecting. She asked me to lie. Serena's face crumbled, her voice shrill. He's wrong, Eric. You have to believe me. But Eric's eyes were ice, his voice thunder. You're done, Serena. I'm finding out everything. Every lie. Every game. Stay away from me. He stormed out, his heart pounding. The truth, dawning. Serena had played him 6 years ago, and Emma was his. But as he drove to the hospital, his phone buzzed with a new post from Vanessa Blackwell. Enterprises in crisis, fraud rumors swirl. Is Harper Lane to blame? The stakes were rising, and Eric knew the fight for his daughter, and Harper was just beginning. The Memphis summer hung thick. The Mississippi River's hum, blending with the blues drifting from Beale Street. In Midtown, Overton Square buzzed with evening life street vendors, hawking soul food, kids chasing fireflies. But Harper Lane's world was unraveling. At 30, she stood in her apartment, her brown skin catching the dim glow of a lamp, her curly hair loose, a white daisy tucked into its coils like a fading hope. Her teal sundress swayed as she packed a suitcase. Her deep brown eyes shadowed with resolve. Emma, her 5-year-old daughter, was safe at St. Mary's Hospital, her chestnut curls and blue eyes, Eric's eyes brightening with each day. But Serena Chase's lies and Vanessa Cole's vicious social media posts had pushed Harper to the edge. Serena's claim of pregnancy had been exposed as a fraud, and Eric's discovery that she'd tracked Harper for years fueled his suspicion that she'd orchestrated their breakup 6 years ago. Yet the fallout was spreading. Vanessa's latest Instagram video, accusing Harper of sparking fraud rumors at Blackwell. Enterprises had gone viral, tanking the company's stock and painting. Harper as a gold digger. The comments. She's using that kid to trap him. Stay out of Memphis. Cut deep, echoing the whispers Harper had faced as a black woman in Eric's elite world. Aisha Turner. Harper's sister leaned against the counter, her locks tied back, her paint-splattered jeans, a badge of her artist grit. She eyed the suitcase, her voice sharp. Yo, sis, you really doing this? Running from Eric and Serena? You're stronger than that. Harper zipped the suitcase, her hands trembling. I ain't running, Aisha. I'm protecting Emma. Serena's out for blood and Eric. I can't trust him not to break us again. I'm taking her to Asheville, somewhere quiet. Start fresh. Aisha's eyes softened, but her tone stayed firm. You're Harper Lane, Queen of Sea. Whisper. You crashed that man's wedding to save your kid. Don't let Serena's shade or Eric's baggage dim your shine. Fight, sis. Harper's jaw tightened, her curls bouncing as she shook her head. I've been fighting my whole life, Aisha. For Emma, for me. For a place in a world that keeps telling me I don't belong. I'm tired. Aisha hugged her fierce and warm. But Harper's decision was set. Asheville's mountains promised peace, a place where Emma could heal without the weight of Memphis's drama. But leaving meant tearing Emma from Eric, the father she was starting to love, and Harper's heart ached at the thought. At Blackwell Enterprises' glass tower in downtown, Eric Blackwell paced his Navy suit, rumpled his green eyes blazing. The fraud rumors, fueled by Vanessa's video, had investors pulling out, and the board was circling. But Eric's focus was elsewhere. Emma Harper and the truth about 6 years ago. Marcus Reed, his lawyer and best friend, burst in his tie, loose a file in hand. "Yo, Eric, we got a hit," Marcus said, tossing the file on the desk, Serena's private eye. He spilled. She paid him to track Harper's every move, her pregnancy, Emma's birth, even her hospital visits. And those photos from Nashville, I'm close to proving they're fake. "Serena set you up, man." Eric's fists clenched, fury boiling. "She stole 6 years." He growled, his Memphis drawl, thick. 6 years with my daughter. "Keep digging, Marcus. I want everything." Marcus nodded, his grin sharp. "Bet, but heads up. Serena's losing it. She's been calling Vanessa non-stop, planning something big. Watch your back." Eric's phone buzzed, a text from Harper. "Emma's doing better. Can you visit today?" His heart lifted, but the fraud rumors and Serena's shadow loomed. He grabbed his jacket, determined to see his daughter and Harper before the storm hit. At St. Mary's, Harper sat by Emma's bed reading, "Still I Rise," her voice a steady cadence. Emma giggled, her blue eyes bright, clutching a puzzle Eric had brought Mommy. "When's Uncle Eric coming?" "He promised to help me finish this." Harper smiled, brushing a curl from Emma's face. "Soon, sweetheart. He's been real good to you, huh?" Emma nodded, her voice soft. "I like him. He feels like home." The words hit Harper like a wave, her heart twisting. She wanted to tell Emma the truth. "He's your daddy," but fear stopped her. Eric's doubt. Serena's lies. The world's judgment. They all whispered. She wasn't enough. Before she could answer, Eric walked in his presence, filling the room, his sandalwood cologne sharp against the hospital's antiseptic. "Uncle Eric." Emma squealed, reaching for him. He grinned, kneeling by her bed, helping her slot puzzle pieces, his laugh warm. Harper watched her brown eyes, tracing the way his hands moved, gentle but sure. The same hands that had once held her in Nashville. The memory stirred a longing she couldn't shake. Later in the hospital courtyard, Harper and Eric stood under a magnolia tree, its blooms heavy with summer. Emma was napping, and the air was thick with tension. "Harper," Eric said, his voice low, his green eyes searching hers. "I know. Serena lied about the pregnancy. Marcus found proof. She tracked you for years. I think she set us up in Nashville. Those photos, the texts. I need to know the truth about Emma." Harper's breath caught her curls, swaying as she stepped back, her sundress brushing her thighs. "Eric, I can't. Not yet. Emma's still recovering. I need time." He moved closer, his hand grazing her arm, his fingers warm against her brown skin. "Time's running out, Harper. She's mine, isn't she? I see it in her eyes, her smile. Why won't you tell me?" Her pulse raced, his cologne wrapping around her, the magnolia's sweet scent mingling with her jasmine perfume. "You didn't trust me before," she said, her voice trembling, her eyes glistening. "You threw me out, Eric. I was pregnant alone. I can't risk that again." His face softened, guilt flickering in his eyes, but he didn't back down. "I was wrong, Harper. I'm trying to make it right. For Emma. For us." The word Us hung a spark in the humid air, but Harper turned away, her heart pounding. She couldn't let him in, not yet. Not with Serena's shadow looming. That night, Harper took Emma to Overton Square's park for fresh air, the girl's pink knit hat bouncing as she skipped. Harper sat on a bench, checking texts from Dr. Jamal Carter, her heart heavy with her plan to leave for Asheville. For a moment, she looked away, and that's when it happened. A black van screeched up, and Serena, in a baseball cap and sunglasses, moved like a shadow. "Hey, Emma," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Uncle Eric sent me to get you. Want to see him?" Emma, trusting and bright, nodded, clutching her teddy bear. Before Harper could react, Serena grabbed her hand, pulling her into the van. Harper screamed Emma, sprinting into the street, but the van vanished, leaving dust and dread. Her hands shook as she dialed 911, her voice breaking. "Someone took my daughter. Please help." Then she called Eric, sobbing. "Eric!" It was Serena. She took Emma. "Find her, please." Eric in his office felt his blood freeze. He shot to his feet, papers scattering Harper. "Stay calm, I'm coming." He called his security team and the police, his voice. "Thunder, find Serena Chase. She's got my daughter." He raced out his heart. A drum fear for Emma, a fear he'd never known driving him. The police tracked Serena's phone, pinpointing a house near Lake Pontchartrain, a crumbling shack by the water. Eric led his team, joined by cops, the night dark. The lake's waves roaring. He didn't wait. Kicking in the rotting door, finding Serena, pacing, her hair wild, her eyes crazed. Emma curled in a corner, clutching her bear, her face pale, her breathing shallow. "Serena!" Eric roared, charging forward. She flinched, trying to block Emma, her voice shrill. "Stay back! You can't take her. She's why you left me." Eric shoved her aside, dropping to his knees beside Emma. "Sweetheart, it's Daddy," he whispered, cradling her, her cold body breaking his heart. "You're safe now. Daddy's here." He carried her out, handing her to medics who treated her dehydration, her vitals stabilizing. Harper arrived, brought by police, her curls wild, her eyes red. She ran to Emma, sobbing, hugging her tight. "Baby, I'm here," she whispered, tears soaking Emma's hair. Eric stood nearby, his green eyes burning with relief and rage. He knelt, touching Harper's shoulder. "She's safe, Harper," I promised. She looked up, her brown eyes glistening. "Thank you, Eric. I thought I'd lost her." Serena was arrested, her screams echoing as cops cuffed her, but Eric didn't look back. His focus was Emma Harper and the truth. He was closing in on Vanessa, fearing exposure, texted Marcus anonymously, revealing Serena's hideout, trying to save herself. But her betrayal of Serena only deepened the web. Days later, Harper made her choice. She rented a small cabin near Asheville's Biltmore estate, the Blue Ridge Mountains, a quiet escape. She packed Emma's clothes, her drawings, her heart heavy. Leaving meant safety, but it meant tearing Emma from Eric. And Harper's soul ached. She drove north, Emma asleep in the back seat, her teddy bear clutched tight in Asheville under a starry sky by the French Broad River. Harper stood alone, her sundress catching the moonlight, her brown skin shimmering. She didn't hear Eric's car until he was there, his navy jacket open, his green eyes fierce. "Harper," he said, his voice raw, stepping close. "You can't run from me." Not again. Her breath caught the river's rush loud in her ears, the moonlight illuminating her curls. "Eric, how'd you find me?" she whispered, her eyes wide. "Marcus tracked your rental," he said, moving closer, his hand brushing her waist, his fingers grazing the silk, sending a jolt through her. The moonlight danced on her skin, her jasmine scent mixing with the river's earthy tang. "I can't lose you, Harper," he murmured, his lips hovering near her neck, his breath warm, igniting her. Not you, not Emma. She pressed against him, her hands on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through his shirt. Their lips met, urgent, hungry. The river's roar drowning their pulses, her curls tangling in his fingers. His hands slid down her back, tracing her curves, the kiss a fire that burned away. Doubt. They broke apart, breathless, her eyes glistening, his burning. "I'm scared, Eric," she whispered. "Scared to trust you." "I'll prove it," he said, his voice a vow, his hands still on her. "Come back to Memphis. Let me show you." Harper nodded, tears falling, the moonlight a silent witness. But as they drove back, Marcus texted Eric. "Found a letter. Harper sent you 6 years ago." Serena hid it. She knew about Emma all along. The truth was breaking free, but Serena's final move loomed and Harper's heart braced for the storm. Memphis shimmered under a velvet night, the Mississippi River reflecting the neon glow of Beale Street, where blues and soul spilled from every bar. The city's heartbeat pulsed, but inside Harper Lane's midtown apartment, a quieter rhythm held sway. At 30, Harper stood before a mirror, her brown skin radiant under the soft light, her curly hair cascading over her shoulders, a white daisy tucked into its coils like a symbol of resilience. Her sea-blue silk dress hugged her curves, shimmering with every move the shell pendant necklace Eric had given her, glinting at her collarbone. Her deep brown eyes, once shadowed by doubt, now burned with purpose. Emma 5 was thriving at St. Mary's Hospital, her chestnut curls and blue eyes, Eric's eyes bright with life after her kidnapping by Serena Chase. The ordeal had shaken Harper, but Eric's rescue is fierce. "She's my daughter" had cracked her walls, yet Serena's lies, fake photos. A hidden letter Harper sent 6 years ago still loomed, and Vanessa Cole's viral Instagram video, accusing Harper of tanking Blackwell Enterprises, had turned Memphis's gossip mill against her. Harper's plan to flee to Asheville had faltered under Eric's plea by the French Broad River. His kiss, a fire that rekindled a love she'd buried. Now she faced a choice: trust him or run. Aisha Turner. Harper's sister lounged on the couch, her locks adorned with gold beads, her paint-splattered hoodie swapped for a sleek black dress. She eyed Harper, grinning. "Yo, sis, you look like a queen. That gala tonight's gonna be lit. But you sure you're ready for Eric and Serena's drama?" Harper smoothed her dress, her voice steady. "I'm done running, Aisha. Serena and Vanessa want to paint me as some gold digger. I'm showing Memphis who I am, a black woman who fights for her kid and her heart." Aisha stood, pulling her into a hug. "That's my girl. You got this. Harper Lane Go Shine the Gala, a fundraiser for Memphis libraries and Harper's Sea Whisper Design Studio, was held at a Beale Street venue, its brick walls lined with twinkling lanterns and bookshelves offering novels for donations. The air smelled of fried chicken and cornbread. Soul food trays dotting long tables while a jazz quartet played Aretha Franklin's Respect. The saxophones wail filling the room. Locals artists and Blackwell Enterprises elite mingled their laughter, a backdrop to the tension brewing. Harper stepped inside her silk dress, catching the neon lights, her curls bouncing, her brown skin glowing. She felt the crowd's eyes, some curious, some judging, fueled by Vanessa's video. Eric stood across the room, his navy suit tailored sharp, his green eyes locking on her, a mix of awe and hunger. He was speaking with Marcus Reed, his lawyer friend, but broke away, striding toward her, his sandalwood cologne cutting through the room's warmth. "Harper," he said, his voice low, his hand brushing hers, the touch sparking her skin. "You look, damn, you're lighting up this whole place." She smiled, her eyes teasing but guarded. "Careful, Mr. Blackwell. Don't start something you can't finish." His grin was wicked, but his voice softened. "I'm finishing what we started 6 years ago. Harper, you and Emma, you're my home." Her heart skipped, but before she could respond, Vanessa Cole swept in, her gold dress glittering, her influencer smile sharp. "Well, look who's here," she said, her voice dripping with mock surprise, her phone already recording Memphis's favorite drama queen, enjoying Eric's spotlight. Harper, or just here to tank his company some more. The crowd hushed, eyes darting to Harper, the jazz fading to a low hum. Harper's blood boiled, her curls bouncing as she faced Vanessa, her voice steady, fierce. "You don't know me, Vanessa. I'm Harper Lane, a black woman who built Sea Whisper, raised my daughter, and fought for her life. I don't need your likes or your lies," Vanessa smirked, holding up her phone where a new video played. Harper Lane's schemes are crashing. Blackwell Enterprises, @ Digger. The comments were brutal. "She's a fraud. Eric deserves better." Each one a dagger to Harper's pride. The room spun, whispers growing, but then Aisha stepped forward, her locks gleaming, her voice cutting through. "Y'all believe this nonsense? My sister's the realest woman here. Let her speak." Harper took a breath, stepping onto the stage, the mic in her hand, the neon lights casting her in a halo. "I'm not here for your pity or your shade," she said, her voice ringing, her brown skin radiant. "I'm here for my daughter, for my community, for the kids who dream through books and art. I'm a phenomenal woman, like Maya Angelou said, and no lie can dim that." She recited, "Phenomenal woman, I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman, that's me." Her voice soared, each word a defiance, her curls bouncing, her eyes blazing. The crowd erupted, clapping, cheering, Marcus whistling, Aisha wiping tears, and Eric staring, his heart in his eyes. Vanessa's smirk vanished, her phone dropping to her side, but the damage was done. Harper stepped off her chest, heaving, and Eric was there, his hand on her arm, his voice raw. "You're incredible, Harper. I've never been prouder." She met his gaze, her guard cracking. "I'm fighting for Emma, Eric, but I don't know if I can fight for us." Before he could answer, Aisha pulled Harper aside, her face grim, a crumpled letter in her hand. "Found this in some old files Marcus dug up," she said, handing it over. "You sent it to Eric 6 years ago when you were pregnant." Serena hid it. Harper's hands shook as she read her own words. "Eric, I'm carrying our child. I didn't cheat. Please believe me." Tears welled the truth. A knife Serena had stolen, her chance to explain her chance at a family. She looked at Eric, her voice trembling. "You didn't know. All this time you didn't know." Eric took the letter, his green eyes darkening, guilt and fury, mixing Harper. "I'm so sorry I was blind, but I see you now. I see us." He stepped closer, his hand cupping her face, his thumb tracing her cheek, the touch igniting her brown skin. "I love you, Harper Lane. Always have. Let me make this right." Her breath caught the jazz swelling, the crowd fading. She wanted to believe him, but Serena's lies, Vanessa's schemes held her back. "I need time, Eric," she whispered, pulling away her curls, hiding her tears. The gala continued, but the air shifted when Eric took the stage, his presence commanding, his voice steady. "Memphis, you've heard the rumors about me, about Harper, about my company. But tonight, I'm setting it straight." He looked at Harper, his eyes burning, Harper Lane is the strongest woman I know. She saved our daughter, Emma, and she saved my heart. I was wrong to doubt her 6 years ago, but I'm not making that mistake again." He stepped off the stage, dropping to one knee before her, a velvet box in hand, a silver ring with a daisy etching glinting under the neon lights. The crowd gasped, cameras flashing, but Eric's world was Harper Lane. He said, his voice thick. "You crashed my wedding and turned my life upside down. You're my fire, my home, my everything. Marry me. Not 'cause I'm a CEO, but 'cause I'm a man who can't live without you." Tears streamed down Harper's cheeks, her heart pounding. The saxophone's wail echoing her pulse. Aisha nodded, her eyes wet. Marcus grinned, and Emma, brought by Jamal for the night, squealed, "Mommy, say yes." Harper laughed, her brown skin glowing, her curls bouncing. "Yeah, Eric," she said, her voice clear, a smile breaking through. "I'm in ride or die." The crowd roared, Eric sliding the ring onto her finger, pulling her into his arms. Their lips met fierce and deep, the neon lights dancing on her dress, the jazz swelling like a heartbeat. Her hands gripped his suit, his arms tight around her waist. The kiss, a vow that drowned out the world. They broke apart, breathless, her eyes glistening, his grin brighter than Beale Street, but the night wasn't done. As they slipped to the venue's rooftop, the Mississippi's hum below the city's neon painting the sky. Harper and Eric stood close, the air alive with possibility. The jazz from below pulsed a slow, sultry beat, and Eric pulled her against him, his hands sliding to her hips, the silk of her dress thin under his fingers. "You're my whole damn world, Harper," he murmured, his voice a low growl. The music syncing with her pulse, his lips grazed her neck, a spark igniting her skin. The saxophone's wail blending with their breaths. Her hands tangled in his hair, her brown skin shimmering under the neon, their kiss urgent, hungry. The city's hum, a chorus to their fire. They pulled back, breathless, her eyes burning, his promising forever. But as they rejoined the gala, Harper's phone buzzed with an anonymous email forwarded by Marcus Blackwell Enterprises fraud. Exposed Eric Blackwell's lies. The accusations, money laundering, fake charities, were wild, with Vanessa's name in the metadata, Serena's shadow behind it. Harper's heart sank, the ring heavy on her finger. She looked at Eric, his face lit with joy, unaware of the storm. Serena and Vanessa were striking back, and Harper knew their fight for Emma, for love, for truth, was far from over. Memphis glowed under a late summer sun, the Mississippi River sparkling like a ribbon of gold along downtown's edge. Beale Street hummed with blues. But on a quiet stretch of riverbank, a new melody was taking shape. Harper Lane, 30, stood in a small tent gazing into a mirror, her brown skin radiant, her deep brown eyes bright with joy. Her white silk wedding dress embroidered with delicate daisies at the hem flowed like a dream, her curly hair cascading a single white daisy tucked into its coils. The shell pendant necklace Eric had given her rested against her collarbone, and the silver daisy ring glinted on her finger. A year ago, she'd crashed his wedding to save their daughter Emma. Today, she was his bride, ready to claim a love she'd fought for Emma. 6 now burst in her pink flower girl dress, twirling her chestnut curls in neat braids, her blue eyes, Eric's eyes, sparkling. She hugged Harper, squealing, "Mommy, you're so pretty. I get to throw the daisies, right?" Harper laughed, kissing her cheek, her heart full. "You're the best flower girl ever, sweetheart. Daddy and I are counting on you. Aisha Turner." Harper's sister followed, her locks adorned with gold beads, her teal dress elegant. Her eyes misted as she hugged Harper. "Sis, You're a vision. Eric's a lucky man, but you're the real queen here. Harper smiled, her voice soft. Thanks, Aisha. I never thought I'd get here after Serena. The lie's everything. But Eric. He's home. The gala on Beale Street had changed everything. Harper's defiant recitation of Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman had silenced Vanessa Cole's rumors and Eric's public proposal. His daisy ring avow had sealed their love. But the anonymous email accusing Eric of fraud at Blackwell Enterprises, tied to Vanessa and Serena, had threatened to unravel it all. Harper had chosen to stay to fight her black woman's strength. A fire no lie could dim. The wedding was set on the Mississippi riverbank near Beale Street, where a white canvas tent stood draped with daisy garlands and sea blue ribbons. Wooden chairs formed an intimate circle filled with Memphis locals. Sea Whisper kids, Aisha, Marcus, Reed, Dr. Jamal Carter, and Father Amos. A local band played Alicia Keys. If I Ain't Got You, the piano notes floating over the river's hum, soul food trays, fried chicken, cornbread, collard greens, dotting tables. Emma led the way, tossing daisies, her giggles sparking laughter, her braids bouncing. Harper emerged, her silk dress catching the breeze, her curls shimmering under the sun. The crowd clapped, but her eyes found Eric standing under a driftwood arch, his light gray suit tie-free. His dark brown hair tousled, his green eyes locked on her, shimmering with love and mischief. She walked toward him, her bare feet on the grass, the river's rhythm matching her pulse. He took her hand, his fingers warm enveloping hers. Harper, Lane. He whispered, his voice thick. You're my whole damn world. She grinned, her eyes misty. Don't get too sappy, Mr. Blackwell. We got a lifetime for that, Father. Amos, his salt and pepper hair gleaming, smiled warmly. Today, he said, his voice carrying, we celebrate Harper and Eric, two souls who found their way through pain to love with Emma as their light. Memphis is proud. Their vows were raw, heartfelt. Harper looked at Eric, her voice trembling, but clear. Eric, you broke my heart once, but you rebuilt it with every moment you fought for Emma, for us. I vow to love you, stand by you, and remind you who you are when you forget. Eric held her hands, his eyes glistening, his grin wide. Harper, you're my fire, my truth. I was a fool to doubt you, but I vow to love you, protect you, and make you laugh even when my jokes bomb. You and Emma are my forever. Emma ran up, squeezing between them, shouting, Mommy and Daddy got married. The crowd laughed, clapping as Eric scooped her up, their rings silver with daisy etchings glinting. They kissed gentle but deep. The river's hum, a chorus, daisy petals falling like promises. The reception unfolded on the riverbank tables laden with sweet tea and pecan pie. The band playing Aretha Franklin's Respect. Kids chased fireflies. Adults danced, and Harper and Eric swayed, hands clasped, laughing like kids. But the storm wasn't over. Marcus approached his tie, loose, his face grim, a tablet in hand. Eric, Harper, we got a problem. That fraud email. It's blowing up online. Vanessa's pushing it hard, and Serena's name's all over the metadata. They're trying to take you down. Eric's jaw tightened, his hand squeezing Harper's. They're done, he growled. Marcus, get Aisha. We're ending this. Aisha, with her artist's eye and hacker friends, had been digging since the gala. She joined them, her locks gleaming, pulling up files on her phone. Got it, she said, her voice fierce. Vanessa's been leaking fake financials, and Serena paid a hacker to forge them. But Vanessa's sloppy. She left a digital trail. I traced it to her laptop, and Serena's burner phones linked too. Harper's heart raced, her brown eyes blazing. They tried to ruin us, she said, her voice low. For what jealousy? Eric nodded his green eyes hard. They're finished. Marcus, take this to the police. Aisha, publish it. Let Memphis see the truth. Within hours, Aisha's expose hit online, a viral takedown, detailing Vanessa and Serena's scheme. Screenshots, call logs, and bank transfers exposed their lies, clearing Blackwell Enterprises. Vanessa's influencer career tanked, her followers dropping, her apologies ignored. Serena, already facing kidnapping charges, was hit with fraud and conspiracy. Her arrest splashed across Memphis news. She was done, a shadow of her former self, her obsession with Eric, her ruin. Harper and Eric didn't linger on the victory. They built their life in Memphis, in a renovated midtown house near Sea Whisper, its windows overlooking Overton Square. They stayed rooted, not chasing penthouses, their home filled with Emma's laughter and Harper's sketches. Sea Whisper grew into a cultural hub, hosting art workshops for Black youth, poetry slams with Maya Angelou's verses, and jazz nights. Harper wrote a children's book, The Daisy Girl, about a Black girl finding her strength, inspired by Emma. Eric was her first reader, joking, needs a cool dad with bad jokes, but he threw a launch party that packed the studio, Memphis cheering her on. They adopted Emma, giving her a home where love was the loudest note. One evening by their fireplace, Eric shared about his mother, who'd taught him resilience before passing. She'd love you, he said, holding Harper, her curls catching the firelight. Harper opened up about her father, a jazz musician who'd left her fear of abandonment. But you're here, she said, smiling. You stayed. These stories wove them closer, a family forged in truth. One night on their midtown balcony, the Mississippi's hum below, Harper and Eric stood under a starry sky. The air was warm, scented with jasmine and river mist, the city's neon, a distant glow. Eric pulled her close, his hands sliding from her shoulders to her waist, the cotton of her dress soft under his fingers. You're my everything, Harper, he murmured, his lips brushing her temple, the touch sending a shiver through her brown skin. Her hands rested on his chest, feeling his heartbeat, her curls grazing his chin. Their lips met, slow, deliberate, a kiss that held every scar, every vow, the stars, a silent witness. They pulled back, her eyes glistening, his burning. Their love, a quiet fire. After tucking Emma in, they slipped into the kitchen, the glow of a single lamp casting shadows. Harper grabbed a slice of leftover wedding cake, smirking as she swiped frosting on Eric's lip. Oops, she teased, her voice low, her brown skin shimmering. He grinned, pulling her close, his hands on her hips, the silk of her robe thin. You're playing dangerous, he growled, kissing her, the sweet tang of frosting mingling their breaths, sinking with the distant blues. Her fingers tangled in his hair, the kiss fast, hungry, the counter pressing into her back. They broke apart, laughing, her eyes dancing, his promising more, the taste of cake lingering like their love. Harper and Eric became Memphis legends, not for his wealth or her struggle, but for their love. A story of truth and daisy promises. They opened Sea Whisper's first exhibit, showcasing Black youth art, Harper's book, a centerpiece. Emma, now calling Eric Daddy, drew a family portrait, 3 stick figures under a daisy sun that hung in their home. One sunset, they stood on the riverbank where they'd wed, Emma skipping stones, her braids bouncing. Harper held a white daisy, her ring glinting. I used to think love was a trap, she said, leaning against Eric, her voice soft. But with you, it's freedom. He kissed her hair, his eyes sparkling. You're my freedom, Harper Lane. They wrote, Harper, Eric, Emma, in the sand, laughing as the river washed it away. Waves can't erase us. Harper said, her hand in his, Emma's in hers. Their love, forged in pain, was eternal. A Memphis blues song that would never fade. Yo, Harper and Eric's love conquered lie's loss, and everything in between, from a crashed wedding to forever. They proved truth wins. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What's your favorite moment? The proposal, the wedding, or that epic takedown? Stay tuned for more lit love stories that'll steal your heart.